All right, it's about time to get rolling here. We got so much to talk about. I don't know what we're going to do with it all, but a couple of things first. Vince is on the DL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Torn retina in his eye. At this point right now, we don't know how he did it or when he did it, but I think he's going to be out for a couple weeks. So
that's not fun.
He's on the DL. Yeah. So he's on that 10-day DL that the Dodgers love to use every other week. So
it keeps going and going and going.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. He's hanging out with Ethier.
Yeah. But we're fortunate to have a friend of John's, Jake Formatsky, who's the assistant baseball coach, San Clemente High School. Very, very knowledgeable.
Yes.
In fact, Jake has watched the podcast. He likes it, so that's always a good sign. We're glad to have him with us here tonight.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
It's our pleasure.
It's actually our first fan to come on to the podcast.
That's right. now
we're saying all fans can come on the podcast. You know, you got to be selected.
Gotta wait in line.
The heat's on Jake now. If he does a good job, we'll be deluged by fans.
I'll take Vince's spot.
As far as topics tonight, we're going to lead off with the Lakers. Their Summer League championship in Las Vegas. We'll do an all-star recap. A lot of Dodgers. As they crash into the second half, they're doing a tremendous job. I've got a few interesting Dodger-Houston comparisons if they should hook up in the World Series also. We want to hit on Mike Trout and Harper tonight and tomorrow night at the Big A. Brian Harper, Washington Nationals. So we got lots, and we got other stuff going on.
Bryce Harper.
Yeah, Bryce Harper. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And we got the Rams. If we Tremaine Jackson doesn't want to play here anymore, so he's going to be franchised. We'll talk all about that later. Let's get started with the Laker game. I'll tell you what. I don't think I've been this excited about the Lakers since they beat the Celtics in 7 games in 2010. I mean, I'm not saying this team's going to make the playoffs. I'm not going to say they're going to contend. But just watching that game last night, it is run. It reminded me of the Mike D'Antoni Phoenix offense. Mm-hmm. They're just up and down, and as soon as somebody gets a rebound, it's a length of the court pass. These guys are exciting, and they're fun to watch. And like I say, we don't know how successful they're going to be. They might be very successful. And like I said, 35 wins would be nice. But I think they're going to be extremely entertaining. And they had some great numbers. Last night. This is all without Lonzo Ball.
Or Ingram.
And Ball got the
MVP
for the league. I think Kuzma could have easily been a choice. He was the MVP for the game, but he was last night. He was 11 for 16, 6 for 10 at 3-point range, 10 rebounds, 30 points.
Yep.
I mean that, and he had so much help. Matt Thomas, 8 for 9, 5 for 5, 23 points. The Vanderblue, every time I looked up, Vanderblue was either racing down the court or passing the ball to somebody. 7 for 12, 1 for 3, 20 points, 6 assists. And it just goes on. Alex Caruso, 15 points, 4 for 9. And Zubac had 12 points on 6 for 10, but 9 rebounds.
Yeah, so what I got out of it was a couple things. It was exciting to watch that there's some depth that we don't even, again,
right.
I'm not a big NBA watcher, to be honest with you, but we saw a lot of guys that were able to put something together without their stars, and be able to, and there was a time they were up by 10, 15 points at one time. So
right.
they like you said, you've given us the stats, they were hitting their stuff. But, I want to reiterate that this is summer league basketball. They're not getting, they're not facing, the John Walls and the Leonards and all these big time names, So is it promising? No doubt about it. Is it getting the brand of the Lakers, on the right track? No doubt about it. Do I like that Magic is trying to put this whole winning tradition back to place? No doubt about it. But there are some things that I kind of say I'm a believer when I see it. Now, again, watching it go up and down and having guys go 5 for 5 for the three and doing all that kind of stuff, it was exciting. But to me, it's still summer league basketball,
right.
And I'll believe more when I see. Now, I think the hard thing after watching that is who's not going to make the team. Who's going to get cut, and where are they going to, the summer league D league type of deal, say, hey, look, you need to stay down there, you get more time so you can keep improving. I don't know what's going on. The big guys are performing, and that's big. They're feeling very comfortable about their draft picks, right?
Yeah.
But again, there were some positives about it.
The defense was not that solid.
Well, and I think one thing for, Laker fans to have, some sort of hope is, going into, watching these young guys step up and do well, and you hear the rumors about the, Paul Georges and the, LeBron James. I think if you're, an NBA, GM, you're kind of going, there might be some trade bait there, maybe not this year, but next year and down the road to see if you can get, because of all this young talent, they might be one or two pieces away from, kind of not knocking Golden State off their, pedestal, but, making it competitive in the West.
Exactly.
Right, and making the Clipper Laker game now more challenging and stuff. So, and like Jake and I were talking about earlier, is like the over-under's 32.5 for the Lakers wins, right? And you're saying it'd be great to see him win 35.
35.
It's a wait and see. We'll see how that goes. But I still want to see a guy like Lonzo. Some of those guys are going to just be coming off the bench. Lonzo's going to be starting to bring the ball up the court. I'm really going to have to see how he handles the defensive side of things, and is he going to take it to the hole and not pass it all the time, and put up these triple doubles like he was doing, And so again, I'm on a wait and see. I wasn't very happy with some of the things that he did. I wasn't happy that he was wearing his BBB shirt on the bench and not a Lakers sweatshirt or anything like that. At the very end, when he received the MVP, they made him take that sweatshirt off. You could tell because he came in his Lakers T-shirt. Yeah. So little things like that was kind of like, and every time I saw him in the background, he had a towel up and next to his mouth, chatting stuff up. So I don't know. I'm a wait and see with this kid, but again, is he talented? No doubt about it. Was this a very positive to go in? Now, here's the problem. He's just become the MVP of the Summer League. Now, what's Dad going to start saying,
exactly.
Right? Well, he'll be flapping in the breeze.
Yeah, I told you so, blah, blah, blah. I can't.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
They shot 61%, 58% from threes. Now that's 2 nights in a row. I think they've shot over 50% threes. That's, I don't know if that's bad defense, if nobody's coming up to contest it, or if they're just good shooters. But there is one good thing I like about the new setup with the D League. By the way, I think it's the South Bay Lakers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, and they've got the two-way contract that the NHL has. So a lot of times when you put guys down in the D League, other teams can claim them. Now they've got a two-way contract where you get this much if you're with the Lakers. If you go down to South Bay, you get this much, but you're still on the Laker roster.
Is that because of the salary jump?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because it's going up and up every year.
Yeah, I know it. I think that's a great idea though, because they could have a darn good D-League team.
Well, yeah, that's a good point that you guys brought up. I mean, this should be a situation where, hey, we drafted these kids, we own these kids, and
right.
And it's like minor league baseball. Like we can use them for trade bait. There are kids. So I hope it turns into being that type of a business. So. But just to get you back to, I know you screamed some numbers, and I was talking to Jake about this earlier. That before we go off the Lakers, is he averaged a bunch of triple doubles. Lonzo did. He was the MVP. So I was looking some stuff up, and actually, do you remember Chris Dunn, who was with Minnesota? He averaged 22 points last year in this summer league, right? He got traded for Jimmy Butler, and Zach LaVine got traded for Jimmy Butler after 1 year. So again, that's why I'm kind of saying, here's a kid that was lighting it up in the summer league and got traded after 1 year. Not saying that that's going to happen to Lonzo, but I'm just saying it's much different when you get to the play against the big boys. You know?
Well, by the same token, Chicago must have thought an awful lot of him to want him or accept him in that trade.
True.
I mean, Jimmy Butler, you're giving up an all-star who's,
But the Bulls, they gotta reload. They gotta get younger again, and I was kind of shocked by the deal just because they kind of traded him in the same division. Well, no, they're in the West.
They're in the West.
They're in the West, but I just didn't. I don't know. I think with Lonzo Ball, I think we just got to be patient. Laker fans got to be patient, relax, because what happens if he doesn't live up to the hype, and then he might have a 2-3 year career.
And that's what Magic is saying. Is when he got the microphone in his face after winning the championship, he kept on saying down the road, in a couple years, he's more stressing. Hey, look at this is exciting, but we got more under our hat here that we're going to play with, and that's going to be more with possibly a George signing or whoever else is out there. They're going to have money to play with. So, yes, this is exciting. This is a great way to start, but this is like a 3-year plan or 4-year plan that they have to bring, the lake show back to LA.
Yeah, showtime.
And Magic came out and said that too when he first got the job. That
he
it's
did.
Not going to be a 1 or 2.
Yeah, don't expect
5 to 7 at one point.
Have patience. I just want to run Ball's numbers real quick before we get off the Lakers for his MVP. 6 appearances, 16.3, 7.7 rebounds, 9.3 assists, 2.5 steals, 1 block a game. So that's, he showed, after that first game, that was just dreadful.
Yeah, and give it to Bushel. You think he did a great job coaching these kids,
Yeah.
I think he did a great job coaching these kids. So, but yeah, you're right. I saw a promise of learning and getting better as games went on.
Yeah.
And no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Remember the first couple games we talked about, he was coming down and just dishing it, didn't want to score at all. Then I think Magic got in his ear, Bushel got in his ear and said, go to the basket.
Yeah.
He makes things happen. I mean, if you're going to have guys, because he sees the court so good that if he comes in and it's open, go. If not, he knows where these guys are.
Yeah.
And I think the key is, and what I saw a little bit last night, is if you got guys that can shoot the 3, he'll find you.
Yeah.
Now can you shoot the 3? So
the thing I liked last night too was the passes. There were a lot of quick, crisp passes.
Yeah.
They moved that ball, just rapidly around the circle, and it was.
And what I liked about it also at the very end of the game, when they were down up by 10 or whatever, they got the ball in fast and they got it going in the right direction.
Yeah.
They didn't freeze, right?
Yeah.
And that those are kids that have been in situations like that, and I think the one kid came from West Virginia. He was a shooter, so.
They didn't slow it down.
No, they didn't.
And protect the lead. They went. Right. They went for the.
And we also got to remember these kids. Some of these kids are 18 to 21 years old.
Right. Exactly. No doubt about it. Yeah. No doubt about it.
So anyway, I think it's hopeful. It's a good future. People are talking about the Lakers. I think people are excited, and I think, like you say, John, people are realistic. I mean, nobody's going to expect them to make the play. I'd be astonished if they made the playoffs. I mean. There have to be some major injury somewhere.
Right.
Western Conference is so tough.
No doubt about it. Yeah, no doubt about it.
I do believe they're going to be exciting.
And again, I'm not sitting here that I hate. I just want to be more realistic. That's why I was kind of given some of those controversial remarks back. I just want to. I'm a believe it when you see it kind of guy, and I just wanted to make sure that my thoughts were being more realistic but again, very promising what we saw last night. So,
I know the All-Star game's a week old, but we were on the air last Tuesday night when they were playing, so we didn't have a chance to dissect it. I know baseball is your good strong suit. Any comments or on the All-Star game?
I liked it. I thought not having it mean anything was a little scary.
You and I are together on that. Vince and John like it not being meaningful.
Yeah, it's an exhibition now.
It's an exhibition now, and the one thing I did like about it was it was still competitive. You didn't see guys were still laying out for balls unless you're Harper, who let that one fall in, but.
Right.
That was one thing that I liked. I thought the home run derby was great, but I think sometimes especially if we're going to go down the road with this All-Star game like John and I were talking about, I just hope, for me, I hope it's not an NBA All-Star game where, it's 10-9, 15-10. I still want it to be a, at least a competitive game so you can actually sit and watch and it's hard to watch a baseball game 1 through 9, but, that's what I wish that, we're not changing it by the 4th inning.
Well, hockey's the same way. Their All-Star game is 13 to 11. And,
There's no defense. You can't hit anybody. You can't do anything, I think which would be fun is the old Randy Johnson where, you get a guy like Chris Sale that throws it over somebody's head and, has fun with it, that kind of stuff. But that's what you're starting to see. Guys are taking selfies now and with the umpire and with Joe West, all these kind of things. But, like Jake and I were talking about earlier this afternoon, it was a lot about like, look at if you don't score within the first 3 innings off that starter, then it gets because it is closer. I mean, from the 5th on, if you don't have four runs, 3 runs, you're probably going to lose. You're probably going to, it's going to be a 2-1, 3-2 game, and then what happens is what we were talking about it as a manager, you got to start looking at your roster. You want to play every single guy. But then you got to look at some guys and go, hey, are you willing to sit and wait if we go into extra innings? Because that's the other thing. Didn't it happen or something like that with
well, they had to call that.
And they go, it's a tie, right?
Yeah. They call the game because there are no players.
Right. I want to say that was in 2002.
I think so, yeah.
So, I mean, that's the whole deal. It's like you, as a coach, it must be really hard that you really want to get everybody in, but you also got to say, hey, look, if we go 10 and 11, I might have to keep a starter in there that can go 3 innings or something like that.
Right,
so,
exactly.
But again, we talked about it. It's like once you hit the 5th inning, you could give them 5 closers right in a row and just shut the whole thing down.
Yeah.
But as I said, American League. He's an Angel guy. American League wins again. I told Vince, American League.
In all due respects to Vinny, I know he's a big Dodger honk, but this was not impressive. Well, Kenley Johnson was their best representative. 1 inning, 1 hit, 3 strikeouts, no runs.
Right.
But Alex Wood, 2 hits in 1 inning. Seager, Bellinger, and Turner were 0 for 6.
Yeah.
Nothing there offensively at all.
And Vinny would come back and tell you, well, it's all about the regular season, not the
But
and Bellinger struck out to end the game too.
Yeah,
he struck out.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, against Miller, Miller. Yeah, who's nasty lefty.
Yeah, that wouldn't be fun to be in the.
Well, I think you mentioned last week before we were talking about that. The American League really had the edge on.
So I
on
said
the
it could be
bullpen.
Miller to Kimbrel, but what they did is they went Kimbrel to Miller because I think what he did is, and this is great coaching, is he figured out that, wow, if Kimbrel if we're going to have righties then lefties, right? So they just flipped them.
Yeah.
Kimbrel struggled for a while. He was having trouble finding them. And that was an interesting thing. You had the closer from Boston thrown to the Yankees catcher. That was a little interesting also. So, but again, like Jake said, it's an exhibition. It's fun. I like you said, it's great to have a walk, have a dinger win the game.
Right.
I hope it stays competitive, like you said, but overall, it's still an exhibition, just like the.
Well, and that's what one thing they were talking about too after the game. Well, when it went into extras, they're saying, well, maybe next year down the road, should we just end it like a spring training game, end it in a tie? And I personally hope they don't.
No, I don't want that.
I think you got to go matchups. So that's one thing watching the game that I think Joe Madden did a pretty poor job of was if you looked, he went Scherzer and then he went reliever. I think he went Pat Neshek in inning number 2. And it's like, if you're thinking about it, you probably want to throw those guys maybe later, maybe have Wood go the second, or maybe have Scherzer go, 2 innings.
Couple innings. Yeah.
I mean, it's an exhibition game. It's supposed to be fun, but maybe that's from people, their front offices saying, hey, we only want one guy throwing. So
Right. Yeah, the managers of those players kind of let the all-star manager know how much they can be used.
Yeah,
and,
right.
The Dodgers can thank Rob Manfield for that, the change. This means they have a chance at hosting Game 7 if they get to the World Series. A couple of interesting points there. The Dodgers are 2 games ahead of Houston for the best record in baseball. 64-29, 62-31. if the teams should end in a tie, same records, the first tiebreaker is head-to-head. Well, it didn't play this year. Second tiebreaker is your record within the division. And Houston has a 6-game edge. Houston is 30-13 in the West. The Dodgers are only 24-17 in the West. So if they were to tie, and if they tied, if that was
trickle down,
the Houston could win that home field just on division record.
And we just found out today that they lost Correa. For 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And I guess Jake told me it's the same injury that Trout had.
It's a thumb.
Yeah, 6 to 8 weeks. So, the Dodgers, if they go, they could start trickling, kind of fighting at that record.
Yeah.
Because that's a big producer for them, big run producer.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the Dodgers' schedule after the All-Star break is pretty light. So, I mean, they can, get that gap even more and catch up with Houston and then just totally run away with it.
The momentum with the Dodgers right now is absolutely insane. It just keeps going and going.
29-4.
Yeah.
The last 33 games.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, if you paid attention to the Cubs last year and their swagger and their confidence, I think the Dodgers have the exact same thing.
It's a great
they
point.
know that they're going to win every single game, no matter what the score is, no matter who's pitching, that they're going to win every single game. That's what I think. I mean, the Cubs obviously did it, and that carried them all the way to the World Series and then winning it. But I think looking at the Dodgers now, I mean, that's kind of the same boat that they're on, and it's scary. I wouldn't want to be that National League West.
And I'll tell you, I'd love to look at the record, and I didn't look this up, but you just brought that's a great point about the swagger. Is I'd love to know the record since Dave Roberts got into Green's face down in San Diego and started going, you and me. I think the respect from those players went through the roof for him and said, I'll play for this guy anytime. He was just about to go take it on with the other coach.
Yeah.
I'm going to look that up. I'm going to see what that record is from that Padre game to present and see where it is, because you're right, Jake, that they do have a lot of swagger, and they're going into every single game going, we just need to score 4. Because our pitching is going to keep us in every game. Yeah. We score 4 to 5, we're good to go. And that's a great point. They do. The confidence is pouring out of their pores. So.
And I'll be honest, I wasn't a big Dave Roberts fan. I liked him as a player, but as a coach, I thought he was too much of a player's coach. But then what he did with Green down in San Diego, I was like, I think everybody in that clubhouse would want to run through a brick wall now. I mean, I would.
And the point you made too about the confidence, they had a game like that just this last weekend in Miami.
Yeah, and Puig goes yard, and when gets a 3-run homer and ends up flipping that whole game to win. Because Jansen, you come in, Jansen just deals, right? He's now got the best. He's got the most saves in Major League Baseball right now. So
when you have a guy like Puig hitting 8th, that's a pretty good lineup.
Yeah.
Yes,
and he. When he first came up, he was a temperamental and had a lot of problems. He could have bitched and moaned about that, but he hasn't said a word. I think he's very comfortable. The pressure's not on. He just goes up there and does his thing. And
I mean, knock on wood, but it's almost like every day he understands the maturity situation.
Yeah.
And I would love to know how many times he's been pulled behind the door and said, "Look, we can ship you right back to Cuba that fast."
Yeah, exactly.
Just calm down here and just play your game and just keep your head above water and don't do anything stupid. And, he's a very good defensive outfielder, and, when you put him down in the 8th spot, you'll know more than this than I do, but you're going to see more fastballs, and he'd rather see a fastball than a curveball.
Sure.
So, I don't know if it's, quote, the analytics of the Dodgers or what's going on, but it's, and not just that, let's just say he is batting 8th, right? And you get off to your leadoff guy, you got a guy on the base paths that can run too.
Exactly.
But
do you guys see the Dodgers, any need for the Dodgers making any kind of a deal at all for the trade deadline?
I would say bullpen. I thought it was going to be starting pitching, but I think their starting pitching has enough. Maybe get one more guy. You hear the rumor about Verlander coming, but I just don't think you could take that contract plus shipping young prospects.
You'd have to give up some good prospects.
Good prospects, and he's owed a lot of money. And I mean, unless there's some way where you could split it, but that's a little scary. I would go maybe maybe get some depth in the 7th, 8th inning, to set up Jansen. 'Cause I don't think they have that setup guy yet.
Yeah.
You're right. I don't know if they have a lot of trust in that. It's like it's kind of like the Angels. It's smoke and mirrors type of deal, right? But I absolutely agree, and I think you need a very healthy McCarthy to come back, right? But I was talking to Jake about this a little earlier, and you think about this, right? The Kershaw to Wood lefty is really, really good. And you look at Boston, Sale to Price, right?
Right. Exactly.
And it's very, very good, right? So those are two unique things. Like when you're playing in the playoffs, you usually get one lefty you got to deal with. You got two lefties that are really good, and this kid Wood. Now, we don't know, is he playoff ready? You know what I mean? We don't know about that, right? But I think the Dodgers have enough to go out and feel comfortable about putting their three guys in line. If they could go, and let's just say Wood can handle himself in the playoffs, and you go to McCarthy as your third guy, or you split them up so you go lefty, righty, lefty, however you want to do that. I agree. I think you go out and get that 6th, 7th inning guy that can hold you in there till you can get to your bullpen. But I don't think you go make the Sonny Gray or the Verlander type of player.
No.
I think it's just there's got to be somebody out there, and hopefully you got your scouts doing the due diligence of getting the guy.
Aren't there a couple of guys in San Diego that are a pretty good bullpen?
Yeah, but I mean that's the whole deal. Is like, don't give away something that could be coming up. You know what I mean? But I think the only way Verlander's going to get dealt is if Detroit takes more than half of that contract with him.
Yeah, and I think the dark horse with that whole Dodgers bullpen right now is Ryu, since he's came back.
Yep.
He's actually thrown the ball well. I mean, you could go a 4-man rotation in the playoff. I'm not sure yet on Maeda. I think he's been.
I agree.
I don't see it yet. I mean,
but there you go. You could go lefty, lefty, lefty if you wanted to. If you get a team like, remember the Dodgers couldn't hit lefties.
That's right.
And you get to a deal analytic wise that they're terrible against lefty. You're right. You could throw Rue in there and sit there and just beat them to death with left-handers, right? And then you look at the Angels. We don't have one.
None.
We don't have one.
No.
The one that we had, we sent down, Alvarez. Right? Alvarez. So I mean but who do we have? We have Skaggs to Haney. And if they ever get healthy. But again, I think left-handers, if they're very good pitchers, are very important for the playoffs. So
the one thing, and I don't mean to make Vince mad, but
we don't mind.
The one thing though, is they could be they can win out. Let's just say whatever. It's highly impossible, but NLCS though, that's the one big thing. Is that they got to get over that hurdle and they got to win that NLCS. Because if you remember, Kershaw's numbers in the NLCS are terrible.
Not good.
I mean, so if they can win that, I'll start, kind of becoming a believer. I won't wear the blue, but I'll start, saying, all right, these guys are for real. Because it's just, it's
and again, the experience against Chicago last year was because only helped, right? But again, I'm not a believer in Milwaukee. But here come the Cubs. They had right after the All-Star break, they go get Quintana. And he's dealing, right? So there you go. If they start getting their bats alive, and their pitching starts, bogging down to get it under 3 and keep those ERAs at like 2.5 to 3, then I think it could be, watch out,
Yeah.
Remember, I told him I'm not sold on Milwaukee, and I'm not sold that, I think the Cubs can come back or St. Louis or something.
St. Louis too is going to be a challenger down the stretch.
But I don't know. We'll see. So
could be interesting. Out at the Big A the next 2 nights, interesting matchup with Mike Trout and Bryce Harper, who initially, when they both came up, were the faces of baseball, or were going to be, competing against each other for that title. I have some numbers there, but Trout, of course, has had one more year and a few more games, but he's still done a number. 861 games to 742 for Harper, so he's got an edge there. But 308 to 285 batting, 408 to 388 on base, 566, 514 slugging, OPS is 974 to 902. Home runs 184 to 144. Runs scored 636 to 488. And stolen bases 154 to 60. Now, they both were number one picks, although Harper was the number one pick overall in 2010. Trout was the Angels' number one pick, but 25th player selected over. I'd like to know who those 24 players were that were picked before Trout.
One of them was Randall Grichuk, who got drafted by the Angels, then we shipped him off.
Oh, I remember that. He went to St. Louis, didn't he?
Yeah, and he was one of
outfielder.
He was the throw-in player, if you remember, for the David Freese deal.
Yes,
which
I remember
turned
him.
out really well for us.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a little bitter with that one because he was one of our. It was Trout, and then he was the top-rated outfield prospect in the Angels. And it just when we shipped him away, and especially as a throw-in guy for David Freese, I was like,
Yeah, he started a lice. I don't know if he's still starting for him.
He's been up and down a little bit, but I mean, he's been almost there every day for him.
He is. He's definitely a good player.
Yeah, I mean, Bryce Harper. It's almost like you have the Opie Taylor of baseball with Trout and the Rebel. The Rebel who's actually starting to mature a little bit with Bryce Harper. Both very exciting. I like it that they're. I think Bryce might be a better outfielder. I think he fields the spot a little bit better, maybe with the arm, maybe not as in, climbing walls and those kind of things.
Taking away home runs?
Right, yeah. But I think it's going to be great. I think they're going to show it on ESPN or Fox this weekend. They're going to be one of the games of the week. Again, I think you got, the future of baseball. I think Major League Baseball would be scared to call Bryce Harper the face of baseball because he's a loose cannon. At any time he could go crazy where, Trout's that nice neighbor boy next door type of deal. But I think it's great. I hope they kind of media wise takes it and runs with it. I think they're both very exciting. They both hit the ball very hard and they're very good at hitting it in all different directions. So it should be fun.
It should be a good series. One other thing, getting back to the Dodgers for just a second. When are the Dodgers going to let Southern California see their games on TV?
Well, that's a TV contract that you just can't
This
get
is
out
the
of,
fourth year
They don't care.
that I have not been able to see a Dodger game unless it's on ESPN.
On
Fox.
And there's some areas, even in LA County, you could be in San Pedro and still not even get the Dodger game.
That's absolutely
Time Warner, right?
ridiculous.
Time Warner.
Time
owns them,
Warner.
right? It's a joke. And Vince, being the hardcore guy, Vince streams it online, and I want to say they think that Vince isn't living in Canada. That's how he gets it on. He watches it on his computer. But you're right. It's not right.
I mean, they're all about PR and fan friendly, and
And I don't know, is that a Time Warner? Is that a contract that ends and they could go to somebody else, or is that?
Well, they've been negotiating it for 4 years, so I don't know what the status of it is.
I don't know either.
And DirecTV had something to do with it, I think, also. But it's just it's not right.
Well,
to be honest with you.
And does Fred McCourt still own the parking lot still for LA?
I believe he does.
I think he does.
Because I remember
that was part of his deal, right?
Yeah.
So that makes sense why everybody wants you to take the train and not drive up there anymore. Because that makes sense.
So I had tickets through work the other day, and I took Vince, and you should see the line at because Vince came up on the train. I was working up in LA, and I picked him up. The line to get in on the bus that takes you from Union Station up to the Dodgers game, it was out the door. Yeah. It's like you said, they want nothing to do with that parking up there. Yeah, because we saw one of the signs said Premier Parking, $50 to park.
That's one way in, one way out. So
yeah, so
$50.
Yeah, $50 to park, and that's like to park, somewhat close, to, or in with the. Season ticket holders or something like that. It was crazy to park. So, but I told Vince, I said, Dodger Stadium's a great baseball stadium to watch baseball. I think it's one of the best designed baseball stadiums that you actually, especially in the first 2 or 3 levels, you get up top, it gets a little steep, but I was watching the game with him. I'm like, this is a really cool stadium to watch baseball. It's spread out enough. It's very comfortable, and But again, yeah.
Not easy to get in and out of.
No. That's where the Angels blow them away.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They blow them away.
You get a full house there, and you can be out there in probably 10, 15 minutes.
Right,
you know.
Yeah.
It's,
You're absolutely right there.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough getting.
But I don't know what that contract. I don't know anything about that Time Warner. I don't really care.
They were talking about they wanted to raise the rate like what, $5 per customer, $5 or something.
But it's
per customer.
But I heard it's an enormous rate that these people have to pay for Time Warner.
Yeah,
It's not right. You know.
No.
And I don't know if they do that to just get them to come, so you watch. You know, because they're actually having good season when it comes to participation and watching the Dodger games. So.
I think the sad thing last year too was Vinny's last year.
Yeah,
I would love to have been able to see Vinny on doing TV last year. And this year they might win the pennant and win the World Series. And until they get to the playoffs where we get national TV,
so we all can see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's not good. Do you guys have anything on the Floyd Mayweather thing?
No. It's an exhibition. Guys getting paid millions of dollars, and I could care less, to be honest with you. I'm just more worried about coming out the Angels coming out of the All-Star break and losing 2 out of 3 against a team that you're fighting for.
That wasn't good.
And that's the other thing is Jake and I are talking about it. You gotta have to win those games. Like you were in second place, right? Or
they were in second.
For the wild card. Now you're nowhere to be found, right? Because now New York won some games and Tampa Bay took 2 out of 3 from you. And these are the games that we've talked in the past.
You got to win those.
You've got to win these games, and
even when they were good too,
right? Yeah.
Now you got Washington, who's leading the East, NL East, and then Boston coming in, leading the AL East.
Yeah, but we took 2 out of 3 against Boston.
Well, back there.
But I mean, we'll see. You're right, and I don't know if we'll face. We probably will face Price and Sale, but we're gonna have to figure out something, or are we now trading people away? You know what I mean? So
they're buyers or sellers.
Are we going to become sellers real quick to kind of boost our minor league system, which is depleted and
a disaster?
Like you said, you're giving guys away, for David Freese and stuff like that. Like, what are we going to? And I'll just throw it out here for discussion. Let's just say it starts to go ugly. Who do you get rid of?
I'll give you a better question. Who has value?
Cole Calhoun, in my opinion.
Okay.
Maybe Maben.
Okay. So you're looking at players then. You're not looking at any pitchers. Would we lose a Ramirez? Would we lose a Bedrosian? Would we lose a Norris? Would we lose anybody like that? I mean, those are the guys that, like you said, guys that are looking for, setup guys. Mm-hmm. Are we gonna become sellers now? Like I said, our system's depleted. Do we believe in our scouts to go look at, the Dodgers, Houston? Do we even trade within our division, right? You probably want to trade outside our division.
Exactly.
And so I don't know. I'm throwing it out to you guys that, you guys just told me Maben and Calhoun. Are these teams that are in the playoffs, are they looking to bring guys that are starting that they're going to sit the bench, right? Or who needs outfielders, right? Like I can understand Boston looking at a third baseman. I could see New York looking for a first baseman. Right. I can see those kind of position players. But like you said, a majority of these guys are going to want pitching, right? Yeah. So now, does anybody even want to knock on our door? Because all of our pitchers are hurt, right?
Exactly. We don't have a farm system. And I think I want to kind of get into that. I got, really upset winter meetings when I think DePoto just got the Mariner job, and somebody on MLB Network, came out and said, how do you think you did, as being the Angels general manager? And he said, I think I did a pretty good job. And I almost threw my remote through the TV. I'm going, really?
Based on what?
Yeah, based on what? You signed Josh Hamilton, which, by the way, he's
still paying him.
We're still paying him $26 million. I think this is last year.
Yeah.
We don't have a farm system. I mean, it's funny. Look at Gene Segura and Alexei Marista and all these guys that were with us, Patrick Corbin, and they're, on other teams doing well, but I think we got to, as Angel fans, got to, just kind of trust the process. And, Epler actually has had, 2 really good draft years so far. I mean, this year especially, he just loaded up on pitching, so I think you just gotta, we just gotta wait it out and see. I mean, because he came to the Angels with nothing,
empty cupboard.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Trout was it.
And again, we've stressed over as you watch. We stress if you go again, we still don't know what the heck's going on with Garrett Richards, right? So if you go Richards to Haney to Skaggs,
maybe Shoemaker
maybe. Is a fifth, sixth guy, but now Ramirez has stepped up, so Ramirez can slide into that fourth. If they're all healthy, I think we're a pretty competitive team. But again, we just don't. You can't keep those guys healthy. So again, as we say, is like what's that? Trippiano. Yeah. And so here we go. We look 2018, and it's like we talked about last week. I think it was last week when we talked about would we ever trade Trout? You know? And that would be a deal where. Trout, I think, really believes if we had this starting.
That was a question.
We were going. Yeah, it was a question from Dave from Northridge.
Right.
What would we get for him? Like it'd be 5, 6. You probably have to get 2 strong starters in the field or wherever in the pitching that are at once guys, and then 3 or 4 guys that would be great, strong minor leaguers. Now, again. We come back, and I think Trout really believes in this team when it's healthy. And, well,
like you said, too.
The last 2 years, it's just been completely depleted with injuries.
Like you said, too, now you're trusting our scouts to go out and tell us which minor leaguers to acquire.
Right, exactly.
When they can't even, figure out who to draft.
And the one thing with Trout, too, is we have him for 4 more years.
2020, I think, is his.
Yeah, 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
I think if you start, I think after next year when you have the Hamilton contract gone, I think getting closer, to when he's about to be done, if there's no team, if you call up Chicago, you call up New York, you call up, San Francisco and be like, hey,
Boston,
I'll drive him up to John Wayne Airport. I mean, it'd be sad to see him leave, but I don't want to be in the cellar for the next 10 years and then get nothing for Trout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then what is that next contract? Are you telling me in 19 you're going to look at him and so you're going to sign him like a Pujols to 10 years, and after his 10 years he's going to work for the for the
like
Angels?
I said last week, he could be baseball's first $50 million a year guy.
No doubt about it.
And I think I think I would give that contract before I would give it to Harper.
Right,
yeah.
and
if you wanted to do $40 million, because
I'd give that contract before I'd give him to Pujols. We gave a big one to Pujols, but I would have gave that to Trout more than I would give it to Pujols.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why Pujols' deal is like, hey, you got to work for the Angels for a while after it's all.
They're going to pay him $1 million a year after he retires to work for him.
Yeah.
And I mean, going into Pujols as well, I mean, you kind of have to tip your cap a little bit to him. I mean, for what he's lived, for what he's done with his contract for 5 years. I mean, the average isn't there, but the home runs are starting to be there.
He's knocking the runs in.
He's not. I mean, he's it's not like it's Josh Hamilton who's sitting in Texas collecting $25 million. He's doing nothing.
Yeah.
Which I still say to this day was one of the worst deals ever. I remember saying it to a couple of my buddies, going, "Why did we do this? There's a reason why Texas got rid of him." And we decided to get him.
I think it's a tie. Josh Hamilton and C.J. Wilson.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
There was another one, though, we did in New York kid, too. Vernon Wells.
Vernon Wells.
Another terrible one.
Yeah. He was. We paid him forever, too.
Oh, it's crazy.
I think we just got done paying him like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's drinking drinks on an island somewhere with umbrellas hanging out of it.
Probably with Gary Matthews Jr., too.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously our track record of signing him, and you're right, Pujols is the only one that's actually kind of hung in there and got the big contract, is actually still producing. It scares me every time there's one out and a man on first, but, because it's the easiest
6-4-3
every time.
It's the easy. I mean, they can drop the ball and
exactly
get it over there, So, but
I don't really have any problem with Pujols. I mean, you know what you're getting. I mean, he's going to strike out, but like you say, he does drive in the runs. He's not going to hit for an average.
Yeah, but you need somebody to play the spot, right? So CJ Cron has been a bust for us, or it's been really kind of up and down. And you got you just to have a left, Valbuena's over there, but he's hitting like 200.
Well, they finally got rid of Espinosa, which was long overdue.
Best deal they've done so far.
But that's a 25. Isn't that a big contract too, or not a big one?
I don't think
it was
so.
just a one
deal.
year, 70
They sent him
million.
down for assignment, or they
No, designated for assignment.
right.
I'm sure that they'll release him when the 10 days is up.
Because I don't think anyone's gonna
Franklin
want
came up. Right?
Franklin,
But Valbuena too. I mean, he's below the Mendoza line.
Right, and you're this being your first and third baseman, they got to have some power.
It's got to be power.
And that's the one thing I wish. I think personally, I think it's more of a internal thing with Crone. I think having him coming up and down so much. Because he hit that grand slam in New York,
and then they sent him down the next day.
Him down, and then they're bringing up. I think if they kind of just give him, a month, and I know they've given him a lot of opportunity, but I think because I think he's better than Valbuena, obviously.
Yeah.
But, I think if they just kind of put him in there every day and just, let's see what happens. Because you don't want to, have what we did with Trumbo.
Right.
Exactly.
He can't play left field. Okay, but he's going to hit 45.
Well, how about Socha, too? Napoli, he can't catch.
Yeah.
Napoli couldn't catch him.
And every time Napoli comes, he licks his chops every time he comes to Anaheim. So.
Yeah, but you got to have a little bit of power at first base.
Yeah.
I still like Escobar at third, even though he's not a home run hitter. He's a solid guy.
He's a contact guy.
Contact guy, gets on base.
Yeah. He swings it. He reminds me a little bit of, not power-wise, but Vladdy Guerrero. Like, you could throw it in the dirt, he might hit it,
Yeah.
So, but, he's a contact guy. I don't mind him where he's hitting him now. I think he's in the 5 or 6 spot right now.
Yeah, that's all right.
I would just like a little bit more hustle from him, but,
And he scares me every time the ground ball's hit to him.
Yeah, defensively, he's suspect.
It's funny because, when he gets a ground ball, everybody behind first base grabs their mitts because they're actually could get one in the stands. So, but
I like this. I like Simmons. I mean, at one point, with the Angels defensively, it's like you'd rather just play with 8 because Espinosa's not doing anything. But I think having this Nick Franklin guy up is going to help, I mean, it's not a bad team, but I think it's just once, going into next year with money, being loose and stuff, I think they could build, a pretty good team around Trout. And I personally think someone needs to go back and tell Garrett Richards, hey, just get the surgery. We'll see you in 2020. Because I don't think this stem cell thing is not working.
No.
It's not.
And we have not heard boo.
Nothing.
Nothing in the papers. Nothing. I mean, nothing. And it's just driving me nuts. Like, this is your ace.
This is
and anybody that calls in, they just avoid it.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like, again, and you just go get it done. And I don't know, is it the agent? I don't know if it's him. I don't know what it is. It's just stopping him from doing it.
They're sure covering that thing up. I mean,
really.
I like the guy that came up from Salt Lake and played third base for
Cowart.
Yeah,
Cowart.
He's down at Salt Lake now working at second base.
Well, they're trying to. Yeah,
it's
like the best way to do it. It's like when you're walking in New York and they have the shells, and they're just good. The shells are going back and forth, and they're like, pick a second baseman. Franklin, you're in. Cowart, you're in. I mean, that's what's happening with that. Who hits is going to play. So flat out.
And I think too, this might be Mike Socha's best, managerial job that he's had.
I think he's done a great job.
2002. I mean, my opinion, not trying to be a homer, I mean, you could argue manager of the year. I mean, there was no expectations going into this season.
Right.
And they're competitive. They're still in the hunt. Personally, I didn't think they were going to be even, in the wild card chase at all. And now, they're 3.5 or 4 games back.
And that's why he never gets fired every year. It's because they know, like, he's got nothing there.
And I think him and Epler have a much better relationship.
Oh, definitely.
Than him and DePoto.
Yeah. DePoto, he and DePoto didn't get along at all. I think Mike might have come around. DePoto was one of those analytic guys.
Yeah.
And I don't think Socha is. Maybe he is now. But he wasn't then.
He's starting to adapt to it.
I think so, yeah.
Starting to adapt to it.
Yeah, because that does. I don't know. I'd like to see some stats on the shifts.
Yeah. Yeah. I had heard a rumor that baseball is thinking about taking shifts away.
I've heard that too.
How can you do that?
Well,
it's free country.
You can limit to. You can say, hey, look, your shortstop can't go past that base, or your second baseman can't go past that base.
And there's actually numbers that show it actually hurts more teams than it does helping them.
Really?
Interesting.
Talk about the Rams real quick, then we'll get to
All
get to the Open.
Okay.
I mentioned in the beginning that they've had all kinds of problems with Jermaine Jackson, who's one of the premier cornerbacks in the league. Can't agree on a contract. Deadline was Friday. I'm not sure, but the deadline has passed, so they had to franchise tag him for the second year in a row, and now he's an unrestricted free agent, which means he's gone next year. That's just inexcusable to me. I mean, if you know you're not going to sign a guy, let's trade him and get something for him. I mean, just like the Lakers let Gasol walk and Howard walk, you can't do that. I mean, the guy has value, and he's one of the top corners in the league.
So it's almost like the Kirk or Kurt Cousins situation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Same.
And I absolutely agree. Look, if you're going to walk through this door and tell me you don't want to play here, then you know what? And you're a premier cornerback, put him on the market. Get him out of here. I don't want a sour egg in my locker room.
That's right.
But again, he's good, right? He's really good. So, and that defense kept them in ball games, even though they could never finish the game.
Right.
So, you know what? You look at a coach, and it's year by year, right? And his deal is like, there's kids out there that we can go get, that are just as good, and if we need to trade some guys, go get that cornerback again. But as a coach, this I want to have everybody want to be here. If you don't want to be here, then if we can get somebody for him, then go get somebody for him. But make sure it's an equal deal. It's an equal trade.
Right.
But if you can't, you got to franchise them. You look at your cornerbacks coach and defensive coordinator and say, you try to flip this guy's mind to be as positive as possible, because I don't want no sour egg in my locker room. So, we're going to have to deal with him. It's your job to motivate him and make him feel like he wants to be here. But I agree with you, John. If you don't want to be here, then, go get
him out of here.
So, but
I just hate to see the guy walk and not get a thing for him. But that's what's going to happen. So
all right, and that's just the way it's all designed to go. I mean, the Players Association have that angle to use, and so
especially in that division too, how competitive it is, and with Jared Goff and stuff. I mean, it's you kind of don't want that rotten egg in the locker room, because you got Seattle, you got Arizona. I mean, San Francisco is going to be they're 2-3 years away.
Yeah.
So I mean, you could still make a kind of a competitive run, but you need everybody pulling on the same side of the rope.
And exactly a good point, right? Here's San Francisco building, and you could wake up and this guy's playing for San Francisco 2 years from now, because he's a free agent, and they're building in there, and he likes the way they're going, right? But what's funny about it is, what if the Rams just run the table and have a great year? Now all of a sudden his mind's, you want to look at him and say, you hated this team, at the beginning of the season. Now all of a sudden you want to re-sign with us because you see some promising things. Look, you don't want to be here, go,
So as an unrestricted free agent, he can still re-sign with the Rams?
Probably, I'm assuming so.
Restricted means I think restricted means what? The team that you're with has an opportunity to match the salary you're offered.
Right.
I don't know about unrestricted if you're just we'll see.
Or I think he just gets that contract to finish out the year, I'm pretty sure, because it changes every year, it feels like.
He's $17 million. I think he can probably struggle through. Might have to give up a couple of
exactly.
struggle through on that.
Wow.
British Open.
Yeah, British Open, the third major of the year. It's at Royal Birkdale in England, right on the Irish Sea. Looked at the weather forecast. It can change. Looks like it's going to be about between 10 to 15 miles an hour wind. It's going to rain on Friday. So that could be an interesting, that's where you can kind of see the mutters making their moves. One thing about it is it's not a bomber's golf course. So I think everybody's in play here. It's a deal where, a guy like Dustin Johnson said he's only going to hit 4 drivers. A guy like Phil Mickelson says he's not even going to carry a driver. He's going to hit a strong 3-wood.
Right.
So I think it's going to be more a putting contest. Who can handle the little undulations and who can fight their ball, and just try to keep it out of bunkers, because that's the if it is sunny, it's been very sunny in London. If you saw Wimbledon, it was gorgeous there. So I think the fairways are probably firm and fast. It will soften up a little bit on Friday with the rain, but overall, I think these guys are seeing the golf ball roll a lot on the fairways. So if you keep it out of these fairway bunkers, because some of these fairway bunkers you have to go sideways or backwards, but it's always a unique thing. It's you have to hit every shot in your golf bag. It really pushes your patience when it comes to rain and wind, and so it's always a fun. I got a couple. I think, like I said, everybody has a chance. So I think your short hitters have a chance here if they're good wind players. But one thing to note, Tommy Fleetwood, if you see his name, he grew up a mile away from the golf course. So he's got kind of a home field advantage that sometimes hurts you, because you got all your friends and family out there watching you. It's kind of some added pressure. Yeah, he's played great this last 3 years. So the last 3 months. So he's somebody to look out for. He's not my top 5 just because of the home field thing. But I took Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler. There's a big hitter out there who does well in the wind named Mark Leishman. He's from Australia. Zach Johnson, who's won the British Open before, short knocker, but he knows how to hit the wind ball, and he played pretty good last week. And then my sleeper of all sleepers is Beef, the big Johnston kid who's from South Africa, and he wears the Arby's deal. He plays pretty good in the wind too. So those are my top 5, and it's always it's a big thing. They did a lot of good things for Arnold Palmer, because Arnold Palmer won there back in '64, I think, or something like that, and they even have a plaque for him out on where he hit a shot out of the rough, and so and actually a lot of the English and the UK people really became big fans of Arnold then.
Right.
And they have his name on a lot of the boards across the seating, where they're getting, on the last couple holes. So it'll be fun. It's always a great time to watch different golf other than your really green fairways and your trees and your really fast greens, and that stuff. So, British Open's this week. So
what time does that tee off local time?
It's crack o' dawn 30. I want to say they start running at about 4:35 in the morning.
You'll be up for that, of course.
Oh, of course I will. Yeah. Don't call me at 9 o'clock. I'm sleeping. So that's about it. That's all I got on the British Open. I'll do a recap on that next Tuesday, and that's about it. We want to thank Jake for sliding in and filling in for Vince. I know he's hope he's feeling better, and we'll probably have Jake again next week. So
what is the injury now and the prognosis for Vince?
If he's not here, I'll have more information about it, but it's a torn retina in his left eye. I think it's his left eye, yeah.
I think his rehab start is next week.
Yeah, he does rehab. I think he's going to... Yeah, he's in Rancho Cucamonga doing
for rehab.
No, I'm just joking. Yeah. So, he's out there with Lily. Who's got the blisters for the Dodgers? He's out there. He's dealing with pitchers that have blisters, but he's got an eye problem. So he's out there with the Dodger guys. He'll, he's a fighter. He'll be back more than later.
Yeah.
So wish him the best.
Speaking of blisters, they're starting to take their toll on the pitchers in the Major League
we
Baseball.
talked about it. It's the tightening of these threads, I think, of the baseball that are actually, the guys are popping up left and right with blister issues. So, and that's the other thing I was thinking, something that might be on the agenda for next week is, I don't know if you know, but Victor Conte is back in the paper, the PED guy.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. So one thing that I think you and I will talk after the podcast is over with about possibly if Jake's going to be back, we might want to do some research on it. But he's been out in the papers now talking about like there's something it might not just be the baseballs, that this PED issue might be back.
Really?
And that he said in the papers that there would be a lull after the FBI and all these people got involved to find out what the solution was of why these guys were juicing. He said there'll be a lull, but it'll be back because these guys are smart enough to know how to avoid and get around things. So if that's something that you might want to put on the agenda, but Victor Conte's back in baseball talking about these guys, it's not the baseball, that these guys might be juicing again. So I thought before we even put on the agenda that we need to do some research on it.
Right.
But something to think about for a topic of conversation.
Yeah, but interesting.
Yeah.
Haven't heard from him in a while.
So it was quite interesting. I'll show you the link to go to. So.
Okay, guys. Well, Jake, again, thanks again for filling in, and we'll use you as much as we can between now and September when you depart the area. I know John's going to be gone a lot in August.
Yeah.
So, and we'll see how quickly Vince gets back. So
yeah, because there could be some, Jake's a big Notre Dame fan, so you get Vince going with USC and Jake going with Notre Dame. John, you might have not a say in the matter.
I'll just sit back and
watch.
Welcome to the podcast and sit back and and have the bell ding ring round 2, round 3. So.
Especially with Duxton, I heard he's a Queen fan.
Who's that?
Vince, right? He's a King fan.
Queen fan.
Whatever. Same thing.
Yeah.
Dodgers and Queens.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
All right, guys. Well, I think that'll do it for tonight. Thank you very much, everybody, and we are out.
Peace.